We're talking about newsmakers of the day. Now, here's a name that we haven't heard in a long time, former Minister Tokyo Sekwale. And we are led to believe that he has been briefing the media about his theft claims.
That's right, Inayet. So the name Tokyo Sekwale is back in the limelight, and that's the former minister who had been briefing the media. In fact, the media briefing just finished as we just before we went on air. And he had been briefing the media this afternoon following the Treasury and South African Reserve Bank's dismissal of his what's known as theft claims. Now, Sekwale came into the limelight recently when he told the TV news channel ENCA in an interview that the money meant to fund various needs in the country, various projects in the country, including education and various other projects had been stolen. Now, he mentioned during the interview to ENCA that the money had been deposited into what he's calling quote-unquote heritage fund. However, according to the National Treasury and the South African Reserve Bank, there is no evidence of billions of rands being deposited with the central bank into the so-called heritage fund. According to both the institutions, Sekwale had been a target of a scam, thereby refuting the former minister's claim. So, Kinai, this is of course a developing story. We just concluded the media briefing with the former minister. So we are keeping a very close eye on this, and hopefully more meat will appear, over the course of the day as well as early tomorrow morning.
Well, certainly. In fact, I think this is going to be quite a major issue. It's going to make big news, once we get to the bottom of what is happening. Because by no means, on the one hand, we are talking about billions being deposited into the fund, and the other side saying that we don't even have knowledge of this. So somewhere along the line, something just doesn't seem right. But yes, Mohammed, I know you're going to keep your finger on your pulse and you're going to follow the story, inshallah, for us. But now let's go further. And President Cyril Ramaphosa, local government elections, the date has been announced.
Yes, Sankinai. So the date has been announced last night. In fact, it was announced last night by the president that the country will hit the polls on 27th October of this year for the local government election. And this is, of course, as part of Democratic South Africa's sixth opportunity to what's known as, to elect leadership and public representatives at various levels, at metropolitan level, at district level, as well as local government level. And tonight we have been seeing, mixed reactions from various political parties on this announcement by the president last night. We saw and heard from the Democratic Alliance, the DA. They have welcomed the announcement by the president, stating that they are actually delighted that South Africans will get an opportunity to exercise their constitutional right to vote. However, according to the EFF and the likes of the IFP, they have called on the Independent Electoral Commission, that's the IEC, to have the local elections postponed to 2024. That's, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the struggle of these political parties to campaign strongly in order to gain votes, at the elections. But Kinai, at this point, however, it seems like we will most likely be hitting the polls in October. That's for the local government elections.
Well, quite interesting. You mentioned that the likes of the EFF calling for a postponement for 2024. I mean, that's a long, long way away. And is it just as a result of not being able to campaign properly that is going to cause the problem? Or are there other factors? And that will be quite interesting. Because, I mean, you can't postpone an election for 3 years. And considering where we are at this point in time, things have just basically fallen flat. So, again, parties would possibly be looking at their own interests in terms of the timing of the election moment.
That's right, Kinai. But at this point, we do understand that it is difficult for them to campaign, given the limitation with gatherings and so on. So at this point, the biggest, we can call it criticism against the announcement by the president is as a result of the pandemic and the inability to campaign at this point in time.
Well, let's see what happens. But moving on, Johnson & Johnson, we've introduced the vaccine, we've rolled out the vaccine, we've suspended the vaccine. Now we're unsuspending the vaccine. What's happening, Mohammed?
Yes, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of turmoil with regards to the Johnson and Johnson vaccine and Inayet. So the government today actually announced that the temporary suspension of the J&J vaccine as well as the Sisonke vaccination program, that particular suspension will be lifted in the country. Now, according to the presidency ministry, the temporary suspension in South Africa was, of course, in line, with the government, with the South African government's commitment to ensure what's known as comprehensive safety measures, which are undertaken regarding the vaccine rollout. And tonight, you would perhaps recall that South Africa last week, and we spoke about the suspended the J&J vaccination rollout program after 6 people in the US who received the J&J vaccine developed a rare type of blood clot. But many South Africans, including academics as well as scientists, they are actually welcoming the lift on the suspension. And according to them, evidence shows that one is more likely to develop blood clot through the virus, through COVID-19, than actually after taking the vaccine. So, would you rather develop the blood clot through the virus or through the vaccine? So that's perhaps the biggest debate at the moment, and that's of course after 6 of the cases found in the US. Just before we end on this story, South Africa is further expected to receive around 1 million doses. That's on Monday or early next week. That's the 1 million doses of the J&J vaccine.
Right, Mohammed, moving on to Anuj Singh, former Transnet CFO, in hot water again.
That's right. Once again in hot waters, Inayet. So we're talking about the former Transnet CFO, Anuj Singh. He actually appeared before the State Capture Commission today. And he's really battled, and I kept on watching on our television screens his testimony before the commission, and he was struggling to explain one particular aspect. So initially, he told the commission that he kept 4 deposit boxes at what's known as Knox Vault. But when the State Capture Commission investigators, when they investigated further, they actually found 8 deposit boxes. So he couldn't explain to the commission the disparity between, his explanation of 4 deposit boxes and the investigators finding out 8 deposit boxes. But he kept on elaborating and kept on mentioning that he used the deposit boxes for family items, for documents, and also cash up to 200,000. Which he received and he got from gambling and moonlighting. But he couldn't explain the disparity between, him mentioning earlier 4 deposit boxes versus the investigators finding 8 deposit boxes. But his testimony before the commission is expected to continue tomorrow. So let's see what happens tomorrow on Inayet.
Right. And finally, we've heard of Cuban doctors coming to South Africa. That was controversial.
Yes.
Cuban engineers now arriving in South Africa. What's the purpose, Moment?
That's right, Inayet. So initially, during the initial hard lockdown last year, we heard, as you have mentioned, about Cuban doctors arriving in the country. But now 24 Cuban engineers have been brought into the country by the Water and Sanitation Department. That's in order to help address the country's water infrastructure issues, as well as to share their quote-unquote expertise. Now, the Department of Water and Sanitation told News 24 that the budget for this particular project, now we're talking about these 24 Cuban engineers trying to address the country's water infrastructure, the budget for this project for this current financial year stands at 64,652,000 rands. And very quickly, just to read a part of the statement by the department. The statement reads as follows: the highly qualified Cuban specialists will assist as advisors at provincial and local levels across the country, sharing their vast skills in the areas of mechanical, electrical, and civil engineering, as well as project management in the practical exploration of sustainable use of water resources, maintenance and management of water supply and sanitation infrastructure. Now, Inayet, many opposition parties are questioning this decision by the government, asking why Cuban engineers are being used instead of local South African engineers. Furthermore, as I was scrolling through Twitter, I actually came across Herman Mashaba, now the Action SA president. And he mentioned that the work being done by the Cubans is nothing that could not have been done by South African engineers. So he's really strongly questioning this decision by the government to bring in 24 Cuban engineers.
Well, I think I would question that as well, Mohammed, because the thing is, it's not that we don't have the expertise. And for a thing like, obviously water, South Africa at one point in time had the best drinking water in the entire world.
That's right.
And we had the skills, we had the skills base, we had the engineers, we had the knowledge, we had everything. And again, I think at a huge cost. I mean, the last time we've seen Cuban doctors coming into the country at a huge cost. Now, 24 engineers coming in at a huge cost. Is somebody getting a cut somewhere along the line? That's why Cuba in particular.
That's right, Inayet. And in fact, we have been, employing Cuban teachers. We have been employing doctors, engineers for the last 20 years. But many are also saying that there is no actual empirical evidence to show, much significant contribution by the Cubans and South African professionals. So, what's behind, or what's the agenda playing out to actually get Cuban professionals and not local professionals?
Another commission of inquiry needed, Mohammed.
Yes, Inayet.
Jazakallah so much for that. And for your time with us this afternoon, inshallah. Looking forward to tomorrow once again, looking at the newsmakers for the day. But for now, Mohammed, have yourself a wonderful evening, a great iftar, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
From the townships of South Africa, the refugee camps in Syria, or orphanages in Yemen, the eyes of the needy speak volumes with just one glare. We know what it's like to be at ground zero, with food essentials, clothing and blankets, fresh water portal trucks, and even on-site navigators. We use every cent to better their tomorrow. Become part of our journey to bring relief to all. Go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadee.
Are you looking for a cross-border road transport company that is committed in achieving high safety standards, who is fast and efficient, and also excellent customer service? Gardi Global specializes in cross-border transport from South Africa to Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. Gardi Global, situated at 10 Daniel Road, Benrose, Johannesburg. For inquiries, contact our trained staff on 011-614-3108 or email info@gardiglobal.co.za. Safe, long haul into Africa is our business. Gardi Global Transport.
Would you like to give Sadaqah 365 days a year? You can with the Al-Imdad Foundation's Daily Sadaqah program. Donate as little as R1 a day for a month for each member of your family, up to any specified amount, and receive monthly feedback on where your contributions have made a difference. Visit alimdad.com and download your Daily Sadaqah debit order form or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy